A single global currency is an interesting concept and one that has been talked about off and on again since 1969. While it might seem odd, since every country has their own currency, it could serve a great purpose, especially in a world where we're seemingly connected despite any borders that might separate us. In fact, the idea of a single global currency is one that has some highly talented economists behind it, supporting the theories behind it and the positive outcome it could bring to everyone. Will one global currency really work though? Well, here's what you need to know about it. Number 1. Who would benefit? It seems like there would be a little bit of something for everyone by taking on a single global currency. This is especially true for different nations since it would slice the currency risk of international trade down to nothing. This would mean that traders would no longer have to hedge their funds in fear of currency fluctuations. There would also be the elimination of global currency transaction costs. This helps not only traders, but people that travel since all currencies must be converted, and nearly all banks charge a fee for doing this. This will end up saving people money when they want to travel to new places and need to be able to pay for food, lodging, and the like. Going to a single global currency would benefit everyone from the bottom to the top in how their money is handled between different nations depending on their needs. When looking at the overall struggle that comes with differing economies based on nations, it can seem as though centralizing the currency and therefore the banking system would help protect weaker nations while keeping more progressive nations in an upward building momentum. Number 2, trade improvements. Those who are into trading would be able to open themselves up to trading with more countries by handling a single currency. Removing that barrier worked for the European Union by increasing trades by 5% to 20% because there aren't as many barriers due to difference in currencies. Not only will it remove trade barriers, there would be a global leveling of the market. Countries like China would no longer be able to use the currency exchange as a means of producing cheaper goods on a global level. This means that other nations will be able to not only compete, but keep up. For a long time, China has managed to undervalue its currency and by doing so, underselling its goods. This has proven to be detrimental to other nations. However, with a single currency, then China would no longer have the means or a reason to do something like this on a global level. Having the improvement in trade can create new opportunities for those that do so. They're able to access different markets without risking the hit of currency differences, allowing for different groups to trade and interact with each other in a way that wouldn't have been possible before. Number 3, more stable currency. Having a single global economy would help avoid scenarios like what happened to Zimbabwe, where hyperinflation became so bad that the currency eventually had to be replaced by several other nations' currencies, including the US dollar. By having a single currency that touches all nations, there would be no need for one currency to deflate or inflate. It would all remain on the same wave across every country. This could potentially protect smaller nations from having their currency fail when facing a hyper-competitive global market. By having a single currency on a global scale, it's possible for less developed countries to finally keep up with more progressive nations, balancing the scale on currencies that are imploding or suffering due to the nature of the economy within those nations. By creating something a little more stable, there's opportunity for everyone to be on the playing board without anyone falling behind unfairly due to destabilization or severe inflation. Number 4, a loss of monetary policy. Now, with some upsides, it's important that we talk about the downsides. When looking at a single global currency, it's not hard to miss that one disadvantage is nations not having the autonomy to regulate monetary policy. By having a single global currency, nations will have to abide by that currency regardless of what is happening. Good example would be the national recession that the United States faced in 2008. The Federal Reserve was able to lower interest rates and pump money into the economy in order to attempt aiding in a recovery. Under a single global currency, that would not have been possible. Under a single global currency, there would be no shifting of policy from nation to nation depending on what's happening. While there has been a rise in the global-based economy in recent years, different nations have very different economic situations, and having the ability to regulate policy depending on that specific economic state can prove to be the difference between growth and stagnation. The widely differing economies could easily stabilize under a single global currency, however, because each nation functions differently. It's hard for any one nation to want to give up that power. something were to happen in one country, it would mean relying on others or the centralized banking system to bail them out. Not many are quite willing to step into the ring and see how that plays out, especially when devastating economic crashes like the one that took place in Greece occur. They rely on the ability to create policy in order to protect their citizens and the money within that nation. Number 5, supply and printing. When looking at a single global currency, it's important to keep in mind that the money will have to be printed from somewhere. This is going to require the designing of a centralized banking authority. Now, we do see an example of this from the European Union, as they have a centralized banking authority that does not answer to any single nation. This does help avoid political bias while giving that same sense of everything being straight across the board. The centralized bank would keep a more fair playing field while providing the physical cash to every nation under its domain. However, while it may not answer to any particular nation, there is a system of checks and balances in place. Again, going back to the example of the European Union, the European Central Bank must make regular reports of its actions to the European Parliament, as well as several other institutes that help keep things a little more fair for everyone. Number 6, some countries would fare better still. While the creation of a centralized banking system would fall under a more unbiased format, it isn't as simple as saying that everyone would be equal. There would be countries that would still profit more from the centralization than other countries. Great example of this is Germany. Previous to the EU, Germany was a growing and stable economy. Under the EU, it's done amazingly well. The production and value of products out of Germany has increased over the years, causing a boost of the nation that some did not get to see at the time. While this might sound really wonderful and something that takes pause at, it can lead to conversations over whether it would be worth it to have a single form of currency. If things aren't going to be totally leveled across the playing field, then some countries might not be as interested in participating. They aren't going to want to sign up for a single form of currency only to stagger and struggle compared to other nations. This is difficult because it'll mean that there is no easy answer. Some nations simply will profit more than others, creating some level of insecurity for those nations that don't reap the same benefits. Number 7, overall view. This has been a topic up for debate for a long time. While there are many pros and cons presented as to why this could work, it seems that the cons currently outweigh. The different economical needs of different countries makes the conversation into a single currency feel rather impossible at the moment. There would be no easy way to shift from many currencies to one, even if there would be many benefits to come with it. Since the loss of autonomy and the different needs of different nations are two heavy points that could truly spell out trouble if not handled correctly, it's hard to come to any agreement on how this should be handled. The EU is a good example of a single currency working well because of that centralized currency. Germany was more easily able to help Greece during its economic collapse because there weren't as many strings and conversions that needed to be done. However, that does not mean it's a perfect system, and that seems to be something that does cause a lot of people to pause when the conversation's brought up on a more global scale. However, in the long run, it's something that's worth talking about. Being able to level the playing field so that any nation can keep up on an economic level would bring most nations into a more progressive, growing atmosphere. It would benefit citizens and professionals alike to have a currency that is more centralized and stable in order to grow from. There are many benefits of aiming towards a single global currency, even if the challenges that could get us there feel steep and heavy at the moment. However, that's all I've got for today. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.